Among the Shadows is boring. I'm going to set a scene for you guys so that you can understand how fucking disappointing this movie experience was for me. I got home from work, right? Had some pesto pasta, one of my favourite comfort dishes, had a nice hot bubble bath, got into my pajamas, and sat at my PC ready to watch this movie. I had Google Docs open, a Diet Coke on my desk. I was ready for this movie. Nothing could have possibly have made my day bad after all of that. But alas, I hadn't realised what I was getting myself into. And let me tell you, this was one of the worst movies I have ever seen. I say that a lot, but I mean it this time. The fact that this was Lindsay Lohan's comeback movie after 6 years of not being in anything should be a fucking crime. I know that people like to rag on Lindsay for her previous drug problem and her acting abilities, but she was one of the stars of Mean Girls, one of the best and most iconic movies of all time, so to me, she can do nothing wrong. I'm kidding. Slightly. But in all seriousness, her being in this piece of shit just feels so similar to when Nick Cage was in unfathomable debt and just starred in any movie that would give him a paycheck.
Oh, no, not the beast! Not the beast! Ah! Open my eyes! Eyes! Ah!
It's not funny, it's just sad. I mean, Nick Cage is leagues above Lindsay Lohan in terms of acting ability, but you know what I'm saying? Why the fuck is she in this? But before I get too deep into the review, let me get introductions out of the way. Hi, I'm Misa, and I love bad movies. And not only do I love watching bad movies, but I love talking about them and getting other people to watch them because I enjoy making people watch the stupid shit that I like. Hence, why I'm making this video. And unfortunately, today I'm going over Among the Shadows. A movie that honestly, I had no fucking idea what was going on throughout. I literally had to look up what the intricate details of the plot were to understand how everyone was connected and why anything was happening. The whole movie revolves around werewolves and one vampire in the middle of a political election in a world where the European Union has broken up and there's now a European Federation instead. And from what I can gather, the elections are based around there being a president of Europe as opposed to a president or a prime minister of one individual country. But I could be wrong on that. But you know what? None of this matters because the movie is supposed to be about werewolves attacking people and fighting each other. But unfortunately, so much of the movie revolves around political discussions and boring debating about how certain people can win the election and government corruption that sometimes I completely forgot that some of these characters were fucking werewolves. I'm dreading talking about what happens in this movie because honestly, I couldn't care less about each scene. But this is how I decided to structure my video, so I guess this is my own fault. So yeah, I'm going to be going through everything that happens in the movie, so have fun. Spoiler warning for the whole movie, as if you should care. But let's get into Among the Shadows. Okay, so all of that political exposition that I spewed earlier is basically condensed here, but basically, like I said, there seems to be one leader of Europe, and Lindsay Lohan is the first lady. And one of the first things that happens in this movie is the opposing side's presidential candidate's campaign manager is killed by a silver bullet by another werewolf.
I love you very much. Okay.
You want it.
You know what? It took you way too fucking long to notice that he was there. He's carrying a massive gun, and you're very clearly a werewolf for fuck's sake. Don't werewolves have heightened senses? I don't want to sound like a dick, but you kind of deserve this, dude.
Sorry, Ari, nothing personal.
God, that effect was so terrible. Yeah, I'm gonna spoil this now, but you never actually see anyone become a werewolf in this movie. I know, a movie about werewolves with a fucking werewolf on the front cover doesn't show any werewolves. It's bullshit. Everyone just has this terrible looking effect on their eyes and fake teeth. And this really made me wonder what the budget of this thing was. And when I looked it up, I found out that it was $12 million. Now, obviously, that is a shit ton of money. I could buy like 4 million wheels of brie with that money. I'd probably die due to my lactose intolerance, but that's not the point. And to put this number into perspective, the far superior vampire and werewolf movie, What We Do in the Shadows, only had a budget of 1.6 million. And trust me when I say What We Do in the Shadows is a million times better than this movie is, and it actually had the balls to let their werewolves transform into actual werewolves. Honestly, I could make an entire video glazing What We Do in the Shadows. It's one of my favourite comedy movies of all time, but I'm not going to get sidetracked. I just want to get this awful movie's plot over with. So throughout the movie, there are these scenes of werewolves in the park going after random runners, and yet again, the effects of the werewolves are, well, shit. And these scenes have no bearing on the rest of the movie. They just kind of happen. Must be to show off the amazing special effects. The girl's acting is so laughably bad. So the dude who was shot turns out to be a werewolf, as I said earlier, and he calls his niece Christy Wolf, who is, shocker, a werewolf too. Subtlety is obviously this movie's strong suit. And she obviously wants to know what happened to her uncle, which is where most of the conflict of this movie comes from.
Please, take a seat, Mrs. Sherman. What can I help you with?
I want to hire you.
For what?
Someone wants to kill my husband.
The audio mixing in this movie is just so fucking bad. But Lindsay Lohan asked to meet with Christy to ask her to help find out who killed her uncle in order to protect her husband during his attempted re-election, since it seems that whoever killed Christy's uncle knew that he was a werewolf, and Lindsay's husband is also a werewolf. Oh, and she's a vampire. This scene is so hilarious because it's painfully obvious that the actors didn't record this part of the movie in the same location. You'll see a lot of this throughout the movie. Lindsay Lohan in a lot of her scenes is just in front of a green screen. I guess they couldn't pay her enough to be on set for that much time. Now, this is where describing the movie is going to get a bit difficult because a lot happens, but not a lot of it is actually relevant to the story. So I'll just mention parts that, you know, matter to the plot in some way or are so terrible that they're funny. So Christy goes to this bar, which she goes to a lot during the movie, to have her "I'm a badass and I drink whiskey to deal with my emotions instead of crying like a little bitch" moment.
Another wolf has passed on. Raise him.
I'll find you. I can smell you. I know you're there behind a corner and inside a sewer. I'll track you down and make you rile whilst I extract your veins.
What is with this inner monologue? This movie does this a lot, having Christy monologue about her anger for her uncle's murder, but she's not saying anything profound or that we can't gather ourselves as an audience. So I assume they only added this part in to pad the runtime out. I assume this guy was about to assault her or something, so this is deserved, but should a good guy werewolf just be killing random people like this? You know what? I take it back. The real crime is looking this lame. So skipping loads of scenes of the political figures of this movie talking about politics, which honestly is just boring, Christy follows a lead and we get our first fight scene. And this was the moment that I became not only annoyed with this movie, but also extremely disappointed. These fight scenes are fucking atrocious. The editing is so fast-paced, and there are so many cuts that you can't tell what the fuck is even going on. Plus, they keep using slow motion in random places, and it just makes the whole thing look terrible. And this is also where the main issue of the movie comes into play for me personally. Other than everything that I've complained about so far, obviously. We're a third of the way through the movie, and Christy knows who killed her uncle. This guy that she's fighting. So, the main conflict of the film, she's actually already figured out. I mean, surely we could end the movie here, right? But no, the movie isn't actually about finding out who killed her uncle, it's about why her uncle was killed. Meaning that we have to go and discuss politics. Yay! Did you guys hear that? Hold up, let me turn the volume up. Is someone digesting in this scene? They couldn't edit that out? Christy's uncle's funeral happens and she goes home with this guy who I think is on the police force or something. And they bang. This scene has no bearing on the rest of the movie and they didn't need to include it. And this cop isn't even important to any future plot points. If you're gonna have a sex scene, can you at least make it mean something to the story? Wait, so two women were literally torn apart in this exact part of the city while running at night. So this large group of people decide that it would be an amazing idea to go running at night in the exact same area. Are these people fucking brain dead? Obviously, they all die, despite the fact that there were 3 werewolves and like 15 of them, but I guess half of them decided to run extra slow to be polite. And of course, this scene has nothing to do with the main story.
I've got a question for you.
Nothing to say.
How many people did you try to get?
Fuck you.
Excuse me, but I cannot hear what the fuck you're saying. I would tell you why the scene is important, but I have no idea what's even being said because the audio mixing is so fucking bad. So Christy is about to go home when... that's the first time I've been entertained through this whole movie. I'm a simple woman. Give me an explosion, I'll be happy for a few seconds. So Christy ends up remembering when her uncle told her about this dude who makes... potions? Okay, and she goes to a club to go find him. At first he's like, no, fuck off, but he ends up doing it because of reasons. I don't know, something about werewolves being in danger, I don't fucking care. Also, he and Christy talk telepathically, which looks really awkward and lame.
Did you think over what I asked you?
I did.
We also see scenes of Christy training with humans, which honestly seems super selfish and dangerous. Like, dude, aren't you supposed to be super duper strong? Why would you do this with people that you know can't match your strength? It defeats the purpose of you training to ensure that you can fight other werewolves, and it puts them in danger from you hurting them. This would be like if Goku during the Buu saga trained with like Yamcha from Dragon Ball. Like, what's the point? What's with the blur effect and shaky cam? It makes this scene look so fucking awful. So this werewolf guy kidnaps a big dude to slowly eat him when Christy and the dude from the bar save him. Only to eat him because he's bit. Are we sure this woman's a good guy? She's killed 2 people so far. One of them being innocent and just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Why did you violently eat him? Fucking hell, you could have just killed him and put him out of his misery. I don't feel like we should be rooting for her. We find out that the potion that this dude gives Christy is made out of ancient vampire blood, and it's for her to take to, I guess, make her stronger. But it doesn't really do a lot. All of the fighting skills she displays after taking the potion are exactly the same as before she took it, so this storyline is kind of pointless. Eventually, this black French dude who's in the police force dies, but I literally don't care about any of the deaths in this movie, so we're moving on. And we finally hit the climax of this movie. Christy and this cop guy, not the guy she slept with earlier, but a different one who she doesn't really like for reasons I don't really understand throughout the movie, end up fighting a werewolf. They would easily get shot from there. They didn't even push the table so it was covering them. I am so sick of this handheld camera. It looks so bad. And also, that explosion was clearly stock footage. Excitingly, Christie and the cop realize that there's supposed to be a massive party happening at a hall somewhere for the president, which is confusing because only like 10 people are there, but whatever. So they rush over because they're convinced that Lindsay Lohan's husband is a target now. And neither of these two fucking dweebs think to call anyone to let them know that he's in danger. Like, Christie, you know Lindsay Lohan. She hired you for this job. Fucking call her!
Is there anything you need right now? Can we run and get you anything?
Wait, was that cough real? But because Christie and the cop didn't let anyone know that the president is a target, the dude dies. Because of this, Lindsay's character decides to run for president in her husband's honor or something.
With a resounding 58% to 41% victory over Ambassador John Kilbourne. We have polls now reporting in 87% of Federation voting locations.
Great, another sex scene that we didn't need and that goes on for way too long. These two just die in the next scene. Why did they have to add this in? This goes on for fucking ages. And we discover that Lindsay Lohan was the real villain this whole time.
What a twist!
She had Christie's uncle killed and eventually her opponent and even her own husband for political power or something. Because she's the only vampire among werewolves and humans or something. I don't care. I literally do not care. Lindsay convinces Christie to turn herself in for the murders, and she does, saying that she'll get revenge because these lot really thought that they were going to make a sequel. They were convinced they were going to make a sequel. Clearly very positive, optimistic people. And that is Among the Shadows. This movie was absolute dog shit. The plot was confusing and nonsensical. The acting was barely even passable. The cinematography was atrocious, with constant handheld and shaky cam for no reason. Like, dude, have you heard of a fucking tripod? The fight scenes couldn't even be bothered to show even an illusion as to what was even happening in them. Everything about this movie was just bad, and worst of all, it was boring. I was in such a good mood when I sat down to watch this movie, and it put me in such a shit mood. The cover is also an absolute lie. Lindsay Lohan doesn't hunt a single fucking werewolf and never wears anything even remotely near this sexy in the movie. I have been ripped off. Well, my husband was ripped off because he bought me this as a joke gift like he always does for Christmas every year, but that's not the point. I wanted to turn it off so badly during my watch through. I was so stupid to think that a movie about werewolves that involved Lindsay Lohan would be fun and entertaining at the very least. What a fool I was. This movie is definitely a 0 out of 10. I will never watch it again. No, never. I couldn't even get through this movie if I had a 4-pack of beer, honestly. I don't have a burning hatred in my soul for this movie like I do for Piglet, but it annoyed me and bored me more than House Shark. I don't even think that was fucking possible. Fuck this movie, it wasted an hour and a half of my life. If you disagree with me in my ranking, what mental asylum did you escape from, dude? Seriously. But if you did, for whatever reason, then let me know in the comments. And also, if you have any other bad movies in mind that you would like for me to review, then also let me know in the comments. Or you can tweet at me if you want to suggest anything for me to cover. The links to my Twitter/X and Blue Sky accounts, as well as my Letterboxd, are in the description below. And for generous people who would like to support me making these videos, my Ko-Fi and Patreon are also in the description. Which, speaking of, thank you to my amazing patrons, Rob Slide and Fox. As always, you guys are amazing, and I appreciate you so much helping support me make this content. Even with movies like this, where I spend the entire time complaining, I still enjoy making this content, so thank you guys. But anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see you all in the next one, and hopefully the next one will be something a bit better. Bye!